At Lifehack Coaching, we help women over 35 to balance hormones naturally, boost metabolism, and lose weight sustainably. And I've got Rachel with me here today. Rachel just completed 16 weeks coaching with me and achieved her 10-kilo weight loss goal. So I thought I'll get Rachel on the podcast here today so she can share her experience and her struggles and talk a little bit about how she ended up here and why she reached out to me. So Rachel, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you end up here? What happened?
Sure. So I feel like it's been quite a long journey. I've pretty much had weight problems since I was 11 and I'm now 40, so it's a long time. And I guess I've tried every diet. Well, I feel like I've tried every diet under the sun. I have gone to the gym for a very long period of time. I've worked really hard on that, even while I've been eating healthily. And nothing has ever seemed to have worked. I've always really, really struggled with my weight. I've always thought I've eaten relatively healthy as well. So I've always been a little bit, not worried, but I've always thought of that mentality of calories in, calories out. And I've always tried to kind of stay around that. And it's just not worked for my body. And so I was at the end. And when I found you, actually. So I guess I just didn't know what to do. I was at the end of my tether. I didn't know what to do. I was thinking about even going to doctors for surgical options. I felt like I was eating healthy. Yes, I would enjoy, yummy food, chocolate, bread, all that sort of stuff. But I thought I was eating it in moderation. So it was really hard. It affected my confidence in myself. I've always loved who I am, but I've always hated my body. And so that was really hard because I was so happy in every other aspect of my life, but my body, I was not. And it was something I didn't have any control over, which scared me because the rest of my life seemed to be ticking along nicely and I just wanted to get this under control.
Yeah. And when you came to me, you also mentioned that you have a couple of conditions that perceived is to impact the weight loss and weight gain, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have got polycystic ovary syndrome and I've known about that for a long time. I know that you could sometimes blame weight gain and struggling to lose weight on that. That is something I never blamed on it. I always have tried to lose weight, but I knew that it definitely would impact how I could and would lose weight. And I also don't have a gallbladder. I had that removed probably about 13 years ago as well. So I knew that would have impacts as well.
Yeah, so we had to create a very personalized plan for you to make sure that we take into consideration PCOS and also take into consideration that you don't have a gallbladder and we need to have reduced fat diet, but also we needed to have reduced carbohydrate diet. So we had to balance it all out to make sure that
fresh air diet.
Just fresh air diet, just do that and you'll be fine. You'll lose weight 100%.
Exactly.
So what did you realize were missing in your life? Like, why do you think after working with me, you suddenly lost 10 kilos?
I think one of the biggest things that I have learnt with you is I was not eating enough. I was always under the mentality of if you eat less, you're going to lose weight. Calories in, calories out type thing. But I didn't realize that because I wasn't eating enough, my body was like almost, we're going into starvation mode. We need to retain all of that and hang on to it as much as we can. So that was one of the biggest things I learned. And I remember the first couple of weeks of the program, I just felt, I almost felt sick from eating so much food. I couldn't believe how much food I had to eat. And of course it was healthy food too. So it wouldn't take much to get to that calorie goal with McDonald's or something like that. But because it was healthy food, it took a lot of food to get there. So that was one thing I found really unusual at the start because every other diet and plan and thing that I had, tried had always been sort of starving myself or stopping myself from eating foods, whereas this seemed to open up a whole new world. Yes, there were things that I had restricted or that you had said, look, let's try this. But there was never, ever a day that I was hungry. And there still isn't. Amazing.
Yep. And like today's conversation, I said, we're going up on your calories.
Yes. 200 calories, in fact.
How did you feel about it?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I'm okay about it now. I remember probably halfway through the program when you were kind of teetering around with them, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm just going to whack on some weight. And I used to worry about it. But now I think because we've worked together for so long, I can trust you. And that has been one of the things I have learned along the way. I thought I knew my body, but actually, without you, I didn't. Like, you have taught me so many things. So I think it's just putting that trust in you as a nutritionist and following what you say, even though it doesn't necessarily feel right.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you have to try different things and experiment
Yeah.
and see what will work and what not, because
Yeah.
everyone is so different. There's
Yeah.
no cookie cutter.
Yeah, there
I,
isn't. And that's what
I
I have found.
yeah. And there's lots of plans that people can buy online, and they're cheap or they're free or whatever, but they're cookie cutter, right? They designed for to work for everyone, or
Yeah.
no one really.
Yes.
It might work
Yeah.
for some people, might not work for others, because they are not specific. They're not
Yeah.
personalized enough to a person. And I guess when you work with the coach, especially if you work with the coach like we work, which is,
Yeah.
it's not just nutrition, it's also
Yeah.
a little bit of life coaching. So we talk
Yeah.
and we adjust your plan based on what's going on in your life,
Yeah.
and what, we track reaction that's happening in your body as well to certain foods, and
Yeah.
the sleep and the water and everything. So it's not just like, here's your plan, off you go, then
Yeah.
come back and we'll reassess. It's nothing like that. So I guess that's why it's been successful for you as well, is
Yeah.
because you wanted to make it work and I wanted to make it work for you.
Yeah.
So we were both willing to talk that through and find something
Yeah.
that will be suitable for your body specifically.
Yeah. And that's what I loved about the program too. Like, it wasn't saying all the stuff was off limits, but it was saying, look, let's try this food. How does your body react to that? Oh, it seems to cause inflammation. Let's take that out and just see what happens then. And I think it was, a process of elimination. And it was really refreshing to have someone that was so invested in me, not just like you said at the start, we give you a plan and this is what you should stick to, but you were there every step of the way. And I had my rubbish weeks and then I had my really good weeks, and you kind of celebrated with all of them. And that made such a difference to me, that you never gave up on me, because I was, I could have easily given up multiple times, but you were always there in my ear. So I really did appreciate that, and still do.
Thank you. Any big lessons for you, apart from that you needed to eat more? Were there any other big lessons that you learned? Like any foods that you go, okay, well, I don't think I will be eating that going forward? Or
Yeah.
do you want to bring something back to your diet?
Yeah, I guess for me, I'd always sort of known that bread or gluten was not great for me, but it wasn't enough for me to take it fully out of my diet, whereas I've done that now, and it's made such a huge difference to just how I feel and just the weight loss piece. I went out for my birthday a few weeks ago and had a day off, and I had a pizza and I loved it. But the next day I just felt so awful. Just couldn't believe it. And it was I just didn't want to feel like that. And it was a really good lesson, and that is not right for my body. And my body is telling me that now, whereas it probably used to mask it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I guess because I have been sort of clean eating for so long, my body's like, oh, what are you putting in me? So it's been really interesting seeing what works, what doesn't. So I've just taken it out of my diet. And I think you get to a point too, and I think it takes about 3 weeks to sort of get rid of a craving. And it took me about 3 weeks to sort of, stop missing the sugar, stop missing the breads and all that sort of stuff. And I've essentially stopped craving it, which helps, because at the start it was hard. It was very hard.
Yeah. What symptoms did you have? You said after having a pizza, you didn't feel well next day. Like, what did you feel?
It was my stomach. It was bloated. It was sore. It was crampy. It was just, I just felt
Not
awful.
happy.
I just felt awful.
It's interesting. I've seen that a lot with the clients when they cut something out and then bring it back thinking
Yeah.
it should be fine. And that's
Yeah.
a good test. It's actually a really good test to bring it back time to time to see how you feel after
Yeah.
having it. And then it makes you wonder, what has it been doing to my body prior? Like,
Well,
how much
absolutely.
damage was it doing if I feel so bad after having one slice?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't
Exactly.
know until you don't have it for a few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's what surprised me, because I thought, oh, look, I'll just have it once. It's not like I'm having it every day, but it still made such an impact. It made me not really want to ever have it again. So yeah, it was. It was a good lesson.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Why do you think, because I see it a lot of women struggle to invest in themselves. You know, we're so quick to go and buy shoes for our kids, pay for after school activities, for holiday school program,
Yeah.
buying tickets, I don't know, holidays
Everything.
for kids,
Yeah.
everything for kids, for husband, for family, whatever,
Lucky.
renovations in the house, I don't know. And then when it comes to investing in ourselves, spending money on ourselves, finding one-on-one coach for ourselves, we're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a lot of money.
Can't afford that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
do we do that?
I was thinking about this the other day, because I have 4 children who I adore and I love, and they vary from 16 down to 5. And I was wondering if it's when you have a baby, this is just for me personally, when you have a baby, your time is fully invested in that little baby. There is no time. You barely get a shower. You barely get time to eat, all that sort of stuff. And I wonder if, because we're in that sort of mode for so long, and then I did it 4 times, I wonder if it's because we're so stuck in that motion of caring for our children that we haven't put ourselves first. I just wondered if it was like a pattern. We're so used to always cooking dinner. We're always kind of on the go. We're taking the kids to their things. We're dropping them at school. We sort of put them first. And we do. We love them. We'd do anything for our children. But yet when it comes to looking after ourselves, we're like, oh, well, we'll do that later. And we kind of push it to the side. And also it's hard. It's hard to work on yourself, because you have to sort of
Commit to it?
look. Yeah, you have to commit to it. And sometimes committing to things takes money, it's time. And they are the things we're time poor. So I think sometimes those things we're like, oh, and I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to, you don't always want to look at the negatives in you. You want to kind of glaze over them sometimes.
Yeah, hide
So-
behind truth.
Yeah. So maybe it's a bit of fear. Maybe it's part of, juggling life, jobs, work, kids, husbands, or just
Yeah.
one husband.
One husband, yes. Kids. You were going to say kids,
Yeah.
husband.
So I think, I mean,
Ew.
that's for me, I think it is what it is. That's what I've kind of looked at. But I
Yeah.
decided late last year that this was for me.
Yeah.
And it was really time to look at putting time and effort back into myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the
So-
right time for you. The right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I always say that for someone to commit or to get results, they have to be truly sick of how they feel or what they
Yeah.
see in the mirror.
Yeah.
And it's not just the first thought that people have, like, oh, I've gained a couple of kilos. Oh, I'm feeling a bit tired. Then
Yeah.
suddenly they're like, oh, I need to get a coach. No, it takes time for them
Yeah.
to truly be like, I've had enough. I'm sick and
Yeah.
tired of being tired and
Yeah.
not being able to fit in my favorite clothes and just not feeling comfortable with my body
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, it takes a while. Like it has to be really the last kind of resort type
Yeah.
thing for a lot of women to be
Yeah.
in that kind of press the button and get it done.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. You're at rock
type
bottom. There's no other option almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your advice? Like, what would you suggest to someone who is thinking about making changes or wanting to lose some weight or just want to feel good or balance their hormones naturally? Like, what would you
I would suggest
say?
wholeheartedly book Anastasia.
Of course.
And this goes back to something my husband said a couple of months ago maybe. And he said to me, Rach, I know that you are such a strong person, but he said, I honestly believe that you wouldn't have been able to have the success you've had without your coach, because you had such an insight into the health side, the nutrition, the hormones, like it was the whole package. And there was just no diet. There is no way I could have gone to university and studied it all and maybe worked it out one day, but I just could not have gone down this track and had the success without you, because you're an expert. This is what you do for a living. You look into people's different body type. And because of my complexities, I guess, it's not straightforward. It's not calories in, calories out. It's a little bit different. So I just say, don't hesitate. Book Anastasia or a nutritionist, because it will change your life as it has mine. And I think going forward, I know I have a really good plan in place. This is not just 16 weeks for me. This is my life. And you have given me that plan to implement into my own life so that I can live it. It's not just, right, Rachel's completed 16 weeks, let's get rid of her. You've given me the tools and everything else, as much as you might like to. You've given me the tools and the methods and just the education around it as well, so that I can put it into my life and off I go. And so now I don't need to worry. Yes, I may slip off from time to time, but I know exactly what I have to do to get back on track.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest piece of advice. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto my podcast today. Really appreciate you spending some time with me today. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
If you have any questions about this podcast or about hormones, weight loss, or just healthier lifestyle, please go to our website at lifehackcoaching.co.nz or feel free to email me directly, Anastasia@lifehackcoaching.co.nz.